Hey, MOMnation, and welcome back to another episode of Live and Learn. I am super excited today. I'm always excited for great guests, but this one is really great, guys. So, this is a huge blast from the past. My friend Victor is here with us to chat about life insurance. Now, Victor, I'm going to be very honest here. This girl is an expert in a lot of things. Insurance is not one of them. It is like so confusing to me. So, husband takes care of it. But I need to know more just because now I'm taking care of my elderly dad. So I'm starting to like dive into what he has for life insurance. Is it sufficient? What's the cost? Like all that kind of stuff. And I have learned that I just need to understand the basics a bit better. So can we hop, first of all, can you introduce yourself to our audience, and then can we hop into the basics?
Absolutely, yes. So yeah, my name's Victor Rodriguez, and longtime friend, a happy customer too of Katie's.
Yay!
Amazing job selling a couple of our houses out in AZ. So yes, very proud of you for that one. But yeah, I'm the owner of VIC Agency. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. Decided to open up my own life insurance and annuity agency. So love protecting families, love helping people, love giving advice on this topic. And you are not alone. There's a lot of people out there overwhelmed with the different options and all the different, the policies that are out there and how long it takes, all that stuff. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to add some clarity to this conversation.
Thank you so much. Now, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, totally green here. Are there two types of different life insurances that you can get, or are there more?
Well, there's many types. So the two basic ones is there's temporary insurance. You'll often hear that's called term, and there's
Okay.
permanent insurance. Permanent insurance is, as it sounds, it's supposed to be permanent. There are many different options with permanent. Whole life is definitely a popular one. Universal life or indexed UL, that's a very popular one with like infinite banking on all these cool little flavors of the month. But basically, yes, there's two: temporary insurance term or permanent insurance perm.
Okay. And what are the differences?
That's a good question. So temporary insurance, so this is what I like to kind of break it down. Temporary insurance complements temporary needs, right? So needs that are not necessarily going to be there forever, such as your mortgage, right? You hopefully should pay that down. Income replacement, you're not going to be hopefully not working forever. So term insurance really does a great job at complementing temporary needs because those needs will eventually go away. Permanent is exactly as it sounds. Those are permanent needs, such as funeral expenses. Those aren't going to go away. Those are always going to be there. They'll only get more expensive as you get older. Other things like a lot of people like to do is legacy. So like, hey, I just want to leave a lump sum of money to my beneficiaries. Well, that's not a temporary need. That's a permanent need. So generally, temporary needs are complemented by a term insurance policy, and then permanent needs, those are covered by permanent policies, regardless of the type.
Gotcha. And out of curiosity, when do you suggest somebody look into their own life insurance policy? Is there a certain time in life that's better than others?
So most people do it when they buy their first house. That's
Okay.
generally when people start thinking about it. But the thing I like to say, there's never a better time than today. Your life
Gotcha.
insurance is on sale today. No matter who you are, it's the cheapest it's going to be right now because it only gets more expensive as you get older. But generally, what I would say to somebody who's looking for life insurance is the first two questions I always ask a customer is like, hey, look, would somebody suffer financially in the event that you passed away? And if they said yes, my next question is, do you care? And if it's two yeses, you have a need for life insurance. All right. So keeping it very simple, but generally most people think about life insurance when they buy their first house.
Gotcha. And probably have a family and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if I'm like 18, fresh out of my parents' house, going to college, maybe not so much for me versus fast forward 10 years, I'm 28, got into my first house, probably have my first baby on the way kind of thing.
Yeah, and vice versa too as well. So it could be like you just got married and you're going to have kids and all that stuff. People start thinking about life insurance. But the thing I always ask customers too, especially if they're young, is, hey, what's your plan? Do you have a plan to buy a house? Do you plan on getting married? Do you foresee that into your future? And if so, well, get a policy now. And then what you do is when all those things happen, you already have it in place. And all you got to do is change around the beneficiaries, So it kind of depends on what your plan is. So if you're a person who's fairly young and you plan on starting a family, you plan on buying a house, you can get it now. Absolutely. And that way you can plan for the future and lock in your low rates when you're younger.
That makes sense. What kind of questions would I need to ask myself to decide which type of insurance, term or permanent, that would be the most beneficial for me at this point in my life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I keep it very simple, and I like to talk life. So that life is actually an acronym, and there's basically 4 pillars to figuring out what type of policy or what type of plan you want to get. But I'm going to say this right now. If it gets too overwhelming, I'm going to go towards one plan, and I'll explain that in a little bit.
Okay.
But life stands for liabilities, loans. So the money that you owe for a home, mortgage, your car, anything that would pass down to somebody else when you pass away, you definitely want to make sure you know that amount. Income replacement, funeral expenses, and education expenses, right? So if you've got kids and it's important for them to go to college, or maybe you have a stay-at-home, spouse, and maybe you're college educated, but they're not. Maybe they want to go back to school. So those are kind of the 4 criteria. And what you do is you discuss those, figure out what those numbers are, and you add that up. And that is your overall need for life insurance, which is one of the more confusing things is people really don't know how much they need. If you can use those 4 categories and add those up, that will tell you your entire need. However, I will say that doesn't mean that that's what you need to get. Sometimes it overwhelms people, and I've talked to people and it's like, oh my gosh, your need's 2.5 million, and they freak out. And you go over some quotes, and it's not as bad as they thought. But they're like, hey, my affordability is only 1 million. They're like, well, hey, that's fine. Something is better than nothing. So having $1 million policy versus a 2.5 million, not a big deal as long as you have something.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Can we talk about, and I don't know if you even can, without having a specific example, but can you give some basics about what cost does look like? Because, this day and age, we're counting every penny, Victor, many of us, and it's important to know where those dollars are being sent. So what are some examples of what it costs?
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's going to vary wildly depending on.
I figured.
There's pretty much 2 factors. How old are you, and how healthy are you? Right? Because life insurance, you do need to. There are some underwriting factors. Life insurance companies do look at your age and your mortality risk. That's what they look at, and that could range wildly depending on those 2 things. Now, I will say, I've had customers surprised that, hey, they can get a pretty, sizable policy for less than $20 a month. Depending on the type of policy that you choose, you can generally find something that fits within your budget. So it may not be the size of policy you're looking for, but generally, people in my industry, they can find something of all types of budgets. So really the price point, although important, it's not the end all be all, because we can always find something. I was telling you earlier, I found a client who had open heart surgery twice in the last 5 years, and she's like, oh, there's no way you're going to find me a policy, and we did. And so
cool.
Budget was a little high, but we ended up scaling it down, and we're able to help her. But yes, you can generally find as low as $20 a month. I mean, if you're younger, you can go under 20. But if you're a little bit older, you probably want to budget, I would say, $50 to $100 a month, depending on the size that you're looking for. But there are policies for all types of budgets.
Sure. And that 50 or $100 looks pretty small compared to what you could be up against if something were to happen and you didn't have that insurance, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The biggest thing is, the biggest worry for customers that I talk to is that they want to make sure they protect the equity in their home, right? So they had a home for 10, 15 years, and they got some nice equity. Especially now Arizona, it's pretty easy to get some equity if you've purchased a home in the last 5, 10 years, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
something happens to you and you lose that home, you don't want to lose that equity. So yeah, life insurance policy that helps protect that mortgage, or at least cover a majority of the mortgage payments, helps keep you in that home and protect that equity that you've been paying off or gaining for the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I'm sure you're seeing this with your clients as well. This is something I'm seeing a huge movement lately with, expenses the way that they are, and housing and all of that. I'm seeing a lot more kids, like adult children, take on their elderly parents, right? And begin to care for them, maybe even take them into their home and that kind of thing. I'm one of those. So what yeah, it's me. So what advice would you have for somebody in my shoes that is caring for, my 67-year-old dad that maybe doesn't have life insurance, hasn't done that throughout life, whatever, and now I see a need for it. What
Mm.
kind of advice would you have for somebody in my shoes?
That's a tough one. So I would say two things. Number one, make sure you don't put yourself in that situation. So get yourself something, right? If you don't,
Mm,
so that way when you come to that age, you have something in place. So use that as a learning tool. Though, you know what? I'm not going to do this to my kids, so I'm gonna get something for me.
yeah.
Number two, don't be afraid. So reach out to an agent. Whether you can usually reach out to like a financial advisor, an independent agent. Sometimes your person who does your property and casualty, they'll have life insurance options too. But just reach out and have a discussion and figure out what's out there. Because I think a lot of times are people afraid it's going to be too expensive or so expensive, or oh, I'm not going to be able to get him coverage because he's 67 years old. Just know
Hmm.
there's options out there. It's amazing. So the reason why I went independent is because I've got many carrier options. So one carrier I'll take a client to, they'll decline them, and I'll take them to a carrier right down the street, and they'll give them a preferred rating. So just know
Interesting.
you've got options. So don't be concerned about if one carrier says no. There's hundreds out there that'll say yes and they want the business. But once again, you got to make those calls. You got to reach out, because otherwise, the longer you wait, that's
Hmm.
when something bad can happen, or once again, it gets more expensive as time passes on.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what is it? I don't know if you can answer this question. You probably can. What does it look like? Like, say, for example, an unfortunate situation happened, family member passed, life insurance pays out. Like, what does that process look like? And what would somebody like me need to know if I'm like, caring for dad and
Mm.
the inevitable happens and there's a payout? Like, is there a waiting period? Is there a certain things that I should do upfront to make sure that there isn't a whole bunch of red tape involved in
Yeah.
this?
So there's quite a few roads we could take on this one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, the type of policy you purchase, and there's a lot of policies have living benefits. So it's not just about, hey, this pays out when you pass away. There are policies out there that have terminal illness, chronic illness,
Hmm.
critical illness, where if
Hmm.
something happens, you can actually take some of those benefits today. So there's some features in there. So maybe you're not making a claim, but maybe dad just got diagnosed with cancer. Well, the policy you purchase has a critical care in there where you can pull up 90% of the death benefit out prior to him passing away. So there's some great features out there that can help you while people are still living. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, and that's where once again you gotta find the right carrier, and figure out what the options that they have there. As far as claims time, one thing you always got to know, every insurance carrier does this, but there's a thing called the 2-year incontestability period. And when you
Okay.
buy a policy in the first 2 years, and this is every life insurance company, in the first 2 years, if someone passes away, it's called the contestable claim. And all that means is that the life insurance carrier has the legal right to re-underwrite, and they're going to look for any material misrepresentation. So they're going to say, oh, did Katie lie on that application?
Mm.
He's a smoker, but they didn't disclose it. So they need to prove that. And if they can prove that, all they're going to do is refund you your premiums back. All right. But after 2 years, doesn't matter. Insurance company has to pay, even suicide. So it just
Wow.
depends on if it's a contestable claim. So that's why it's like important to buy a policy early. And then once you
Hmm.
pass that 2 years, that's almost like, I want to call it the finish line, but that's when you know the coverage is going to be there for you. So once you get past your 2 years, you're good. You're good.
Interesting. That's a huge tip. Thank you so much for sharing that with our audience. That's giant. I just starred that, Victor. All right. Last question that I have for you is, let's just say, well, it's not, let's just say, because it's true. Let's just say I know nothing about life insurance and I decide to chat with an agent about that. What kinds of questions should I be asking my agent?
Yes. So very, very number one is, okay, is this a temporary or is it a permanent insurance policy? I cannot
Mm-hmm.
tell you how many times people buy a temporary policy thinking it's permanent and vice versa, right? So just knowing the rules of the policy, know your living benefits. That's such a huge one, like we were just talking about, whether it has terminal illness, chronic illness, critical care. Some of them, if you buy permanent policies, you can take loans. Know some of the benefits of that policy too, as well, and have them explain that to you. But by far the most important one, make sure you are buying a policy from an A-rated carrier. You definitely don't want to buy something from a B or lower, just because if you pass away, you want to make sure that insurance carrier is solvent enough to pay those claims.
Yeah.
And you really have to make sure you purchase that from a good company. In fact, as an independent agent, I cannot, because of my insurance, I can't sell a policy or a carrier that is less than a B plus. So I can't even look at any of those other carriers. So just make sure you buy from a carrier that is able to pay out that claim. But once again, just understand temporary, permanent. I said this earlier. If it gets so confusing, buy a temporary term policy that is convertible. And what that means is that if it gets so overwhelming, just go, you know what? Just give me a term policy. That's the best thing you can do, because number one, the best bang for your buck. They're the least expensive type of policies. It gets you used to, having a death benefit, having a premium and all that stuff. But convertibility means that at some point in time, if you want to, you can move that policy from a temporary policy to a permanent policy, and you do not have to go through underwriting again. It's a contractual obligation.
Mm-hmm.
So that my best advice to give everybody else is, like, if you're going out there shopping, you're overwhelmed by all the options, just get a term insurance policy that is convertible. You do that, and you can worry about that later. But just get the coverage today, because the best policy to buy is the one that pays out when you pass away. That's it.
Yeah.
They all the same.
Yeah, right. That's great advice. Is there any way to research your agent and make sure that they're good?
The best research you can do is talk to family and friends.
Okay.
So referrals are huge in our industry, and you definitely want an agent that you get, maybe somebody had a good experience with. You can also Google them. There's usually Google reviews. I would be a little wary if you Google, you're trying to search them online, you can't find any information on them. That's usually a little bit of a red flag sometimes. But yeah, start with your warm network. If you know somebody that has done work with an agent, and they really like them, that's what I would do. Absolutely.
And is there, like with a real estate license, you can look me up. You can look up that I'm licensed with the state. You can look up if there's been any claims or any complaints or anything like that, formal, that have been filed against me, which there are none, just so you know.
Not
But
surprising.
thanks. But is that the same for insurance agents too? Is there some sort of, okay.
Yep. Every state has their own little different thing, but yes, you can do an agent license lookup for every agent that you do. One thing that I always do with my customers is I always send them a copy of my license, so that they can go and they can verify it, and they know I can do business in that state. But absolutely, you can look up. Usually, you have to know either the license number or the name of that agent, and then it'll pull up a laundry list of, like, there's a lot of Victor Rodriguez's in Arizona. So
Yes.
but yeah, you can look them up on that one.
Awesome. That's really helpful. I mean, not to say that I'm skeptical of everyone, but I kind of am, especially this day and age with AI and with all these scams that we have to filter through all day, every day. I'm not the youngest lady, and sometimes they can come over very legit sounding. So I've gotten really good at just, kind of doing my research and doing my homework before talking to anybody these days. Like, seriously, if I don't know you personally, I am totally researching you before we talk. that was a lot of value and a lot of great information, Victor. I so appreciate it. I know that we probably didn't get to everything that you wanted to get to. And if we didn't, I would love to invite you to come back at a later date and chat with us a little bit more in depth about this, because I believe very strongly that this is a very important thing that we often, being moms, being parents, being working at, all day, every day, it just like there's so much to do and so much to know and so much to keep on top of. This, I think, sometimes takes the back burner. And I think oftentimes is because we don't really understand enough about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, my pleasure. And I'd love to come back. Yeah, I love talking life insurance, and I know it can be very confusing. And if I can just help some people just understand, bring a little bit more clarity to the subject, I'll call that a win.
Awesome. And I have your contact information in the show notes so that anybody out there that wants to connect with Victor, it's very easy to do. Just go ahead and click on that. But while I have you, because this is sent through our podcast channel as well, so people do tend to listen versus watch, would you please share how to best connect with you if somebody has questions or if they want to move forward with your services?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. So yes, so you can Google me. It's a VIC Agency LLC. You can go to my website, see my happy family. It's a little bit of an outdated picture, but I told Aaron we have to do a new family picture if we want to update it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you can reach me over to
fast when we have kids, though. Like things get dated real quick.
Yep. So yeah, my email address is victor.rodriguez, and that's RODRIGUEZ at VicAgencyLLC.com. Or you can shoot me a text or call me at 208-617-5829. And be more than happy. Once again, zero pressure. Just love talking with people, helping them figure out their things. Whether you have a policy that you just want to get some more clarity on, or if you're looking for a new one, I'm always here to help.
Awesome. And ladies, he 100% gets my vote. So just know that he does have a wonderful family and he's a very trustworthy guy. So You've got my vote, sir. I thank you so much for being here with us.
No, thank you, Katie. I really appreciate it. And hello to the moms out there.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, if you want to check out any of our previous episodes, hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at MOMnation USA. That's our handle. Scroll down just a little ways. You will see the Live and Learn playlist there. If you prefer to listen podcast style, maybe you drive around a lot, hike a lot, bike a lot, then on your favorite podcast platform, do a quick search for MOMnation Talk Radio. There you'll find us. Click the little bell. You'll get notified and you will never miss a beat. Thanks so much again, Victor. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Looking to buy or sell in Arizona's hottest neighborhoods? Meet Team EvoAZ, your Arizona real estate experts, driven by data, powered by passion. Meet Matthew Lambert and Katie Holly Lambert, the powerhouse duo behind Team EvoAZ at eXp Realty. With their talented team of agents, they're making Arizona real estate personal and powerful. Trusted, tenacious, Team EvoAZ. Team EvoAZ offers full-service real estate, powered by strategy, experience, heart, and a passion for helping people move forward. Ready to make your move? Visit www.evoaz.com and follow us on social media to connect with us.